Hello everyone. Risk. That's a factor Untitled Boxing Game emphasizes on a ton. Counter damage is definitely what makes risk an important factor in the game. And risk is a factor you have to consider when picking a style to use. How risky a style is can be determined by a variety of components. But for me, it's durability, raw damage and speed. Let me give you guys an example. Here is the counter style. On my previous video, I mentioned that this style is the only counter style that is not weak to counters himself, basically making him the safest counter type style to pick. Let's start with the first component, durability. Now, counter's block is weaker compared to the rest of the game's roster, which makes him very vulnerable to taking damage overall, and of course, anti-heal. That alone makes him a risky style to use. But let's move on to the next component. Raw damage. Counter does deal decent raw damage, because of the chip damage buff he got, which slightly makes him a less risky style to use. And lastly the last component, speed. Counter has the same M1 speed as Hitman, making him one of the fastest styles in the game in terms of attack speed. So that means, counter is a slightly fragile style that can dish out damage without using counters. Therefore, the counter style is a slightly risky style. Anyways, now that you know how to determine how risky a style is, what do you think is the style with the least risk to use? Well, for me, it's long guard. This style did get a buff from the last patch, which gave it more anti-heal, while lowering its damage. And this change, honestly doesn't affect him that much. But, the reason why I am mentioning long guard right now is not because of those buffs. It's because of the components I mentioned earlier. Let's go over long guard's durability. Long guard is one of the few styles that share the same block as basic. And get this, the other component is speed. And long guard is only slightly slower than Hitman. And what makes this insane, is that almost every single style that has a fast M1 speed has a weak block. Yup, here's a list of a tier list of everyone's M1 speed in the game. And everyone on fastest has a weak block. But the tier just right below it, are surprisingly durable.
But J-words, Bullet is there. Does not that mean that Bullet is also not risky to use?
Did you forget that Bullet takes extra counter damage himself, while also having bad dashes? Therefore he is worse on the durability department against long guard. Long guard does not have any of that. He has a good block and okay dashes. Okay damage with anti-heal by the way. And to top it all off, he has the speed to boot. This style is definitely the safest style to use in the game. But yeah, that's just my opinion. What do you think is the style has the least risk in the game? Or is generally safe to use? I'd love to hear your opinions below. Anyways, see you guys on the next one. Peace.